refine my nutrition, and become more consistent with my workouts. The workout, not as much. I was dealing with some major shin splints last week, so I was just doing my mile for the cystic fibrosis thing with Other Crispy, and that was about all that I could manage. But that's okay, because
totally you can't control shin splints. You gotta wait till they heal themselves.
No, and I get them quite often. It's really annoying. But anyway, I did start with some of the reading and doing some journaling and that sort of thing. So, and I even with just doing it a couple of days last week, I did not do it every day. I definitely saw a difference. So that was always beneficial. And then my nutrition. So I restarted MBF this week with another friend, and we spent about 2 hours Saturday both meal prepping on FaceTime. So that was nice to have the accountability, but then also just to have some fun and get everything taken care of, so everything is prepped and ready for this week. So
oh, I like that. So is this something you're going to do regularly?
It might. So I'm usually pretty good with it, and it was more for her. But it was really fun. So we haven't really thought about doing it like weekly or whatever we need to do, but it was fun, and I would totally do it again, because why not, right?
Because sometimes it's helpful to like shake it up a bit and do something a little bit different. Even though you're good with meal prep, it just kind of keeps things fresh. Like your excitement level with it, or just, I don't know.
Well, then, because then we were talking about what we were both prepping. We were talking about, how our weeks were, because we haven't seen each other in a while or haven't talked in a little bit. And then upcoming, and I was kind of filling her in because I had done MBF. I had done the first one already, and she hadn't. So it was fun. It was nice. We used to get together quite often, and obviously we do this now. So
right, exactly.
But it's definitely, I mean, today my nutrition was pretty good. Kind of a crazy day, but I tried to really stick as much to it as possible.
So you shared with us your big goal, and so breaking it down to Brady, breaking it down to how are you measuring your progress? Is it going to be measured on doing the little things like making sure you meal prep, working out regularly? Is that how you're measuring your progress, or do you have another way you measure your progress?
So those are my main ways right now, just because I've been kind of in a mental roadblock to get forward past the scale part of things. Like, I have to still use the scale. My big goal is a weight loss goal. Obviously still measuring it strength wise, clothes fitting, those sort of things. I retook some pictures and measurements yesterday as well. So some of the standard ways that I've normally done when it comes to weight loss, but really I've not really ever focused on my mental health while really truly trying to focus on my physical activity as well. So it's always been like one or the other. And that's why I really truly think that's why I haven't really moved forward a whole lot. So.
Well, that's why I asked that, because I don't want it to be, for some people, weighing regularly is healthy. And then for some people, it's really unhealthy. Although we do have to weigh ourselves to it is a good measurement of progress. Your goal is a weight goal, but I like that your focus is that. So do you still weigh? How often are you weighing yourself then?
I only weigh myself on Monday mornings.
Perfect. I like that. And then making your progress, even if like you don't see a bunch of movement on the scale, if there's a way to just like measure, or document, I should say, not measure, document, like I did this. And sometimes our bodies are just funky and they do things slowly or not in the direction we want. But we know if we do these things, it's going to go in the direction. It might look like this,
right?
But we always have to keep that, I'm doing all the things. I'm good. Right. Most of the time, 80% of the time, right? We're not going to be perfect all the time. So,
and just keeping consistent and moving forward with that, and not letting my own thoughts derail, because that's usually what happens.
Yeah.
Something happens and it's just like, whatever, throw in the towel, and that's not going to get me anywhere. So.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. So awesome. That's good. I'd say that's a pretty good week. All right. So who wants to share how they went, how your first few steps went? All right, Christy. No volume.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I hate that I have to take my headphones off. Anyway, my big goal was like getting my action plan. So we did that today. I talked with Sarah, and then when I got off the call with Sarah, I actually typed it up. I haven't printed it yet, but I did type it up, and I did start doing some things in my back office. So we learned a couple of things on there today, so that was good and helpful. So yeah, I think that was.
Yep, it is. It is. So you did the thing. Sometimes it's like you think about it and it's just like, okay, I'm going to do it now. I need to really have a vision and some clarity. And I think you got some good clarity about what you exactly need to get to that goal. And sometimes that, I guess we call it reverse engineering, just kind of like, okay, what are the steps that I need to take to get to X spot at this time, you know, and just being super clear about it. Because it can be like with any goal, it's just like, well, I'm just going to keep doing this and eventually I'll get there, but sometimes you kind of need like clarity exactly what you need to do. So I think you're in a good place for sure. So awesome. All right, Stephanie Lewandowski, you were going to start kind of mapping out a plan of action sort of, and
yeah, I kind of had two. I had like healthy weight and then I had the big one. I did better on some parts of the healthy weight than I did on the other one.
It's okay.
I have been trying to do, so I did write down 15 minutes of PD a day. I might not be getting in 15 minutes, but I'm at least trying to do something. So if it's like a 10-minute podcast before I go to run or whatever, like depending on what I have time for. So I have been doing something more consistently with that. So that's good. I'm doing Untamed in Leah's book club. So I'll have that to fall back on too, because that'll be like consistent.
Yeah.
And then I pick a tentative date time frame. I wrote it down, but it's kind of cheating because I already had that kind of in my head. So I don't feel like that really was progress necessarily. And then I put kind of like daily action list and reverse engineer, and I struggled with that. It still seemed too big. Like I didn't know where to start.
Okay.
But I don't know if I did it at the right time. Like there was distractions and stuff to do. So I mean, maybe I just need a.
Yeah, what I would do is almost make an exhaustive list of the things that would need to be done. You know what I mean? To create this event. And then sort of look at, okay, so, and then sort of pick it apart, and that will help you have a little bit better vision. So like really sit down and brain dump like all the things that you know you'd want to do for this event or, you know, to get going. But I also don't think it was a total loss this week. The personal development piece for you, I think, is really big because I know you're struggling with this thing because something's still holding you back mentally from it a little bit. So that personal development piece is huge for both of your goals, you know? So that's got to be like numero uno every day, no matter what, you know? So that's good that you're sticking with that. But yeah, I would do a brain dump and then pull a calendar out. I know it sounds kind of anal to do this, but just be like, okay, by the end of this month, these are some objectives I can do this month. And they'll probably be kind of small even. But small actions over time creates huge change. You know what I mean? You'll all of a sudden be like, oh my gosh, I got all this done. It was kind of like when I was planning my wedding, I was,
you know, I thought of that too. I thought the exact same thing. You had that like, this is what you do at 6 months. This is what you do at, I almost thought about pulling out a wedding one.
Yes.
And then taking that as a template and then kind of saying, well, it's similar in some ways. So.
Yeah, exactly. It just breaks it down so you're not so overwhelmed by all the things. So like totally breaking it down and making something like that. That might be just your goal this week, you know? It's just kind of brain dumping and compartmentalizing the things. You're gonna want to identify like the type of people you want there, who you're gonna invite, the presenters, the location. I mean, there's a lot of things. So you don't want to get overwhelmed when you do it, but just remember it's all gonna find a place and a time where you're gonna work on those items. That it's not all gonna be done at once. It's gonna be done in very small chunks. you know, so that might be something to consider doing this week. But yeah, it can be overwhelming. I can totally understand that, so.
Yep.
Nicole, how was your week?
It was okay.
Yeah, some good things that share. How are things going towards like your goal of? Yours was a lot of mindset, working on your mindset,
True.
recognizing your worth, and remind me some of the other parts of it.
Focus. I have an important list, and I have I can statements and mindset
Mm-hmm.
and gratitude journal.
Okay. And
So I put the gratitude journal on my pillow every morning. So when I come back at night, I just write in it before I go to bed.
yeah.
And I can statements. I have I can and perler beads next to where I'm currently working. And I think about mindset as soon as I wake up, and then again on the way to work. And then for focusing on important lists, I am just thinking about that throughout the day. That way I'm not worrying about other stuff. And the other one was how to participate in Complete Life Coach. And I just wrote attend Zoom meetings and participate in activities, do homework.
Yeah. Okay. So do you feel like it was helpful to do some of the actions that you know are good for you?
Yes,
Did help?
it keeps me on track. Yes, and then I don't worry about all the other stuff.
Right.
It really just doesn't matter.
Right. Exactly.
And I practiced a lot of I can and mindset today after I lost my classroom. They took my classroom away.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, man. So that was tough.
Well, I didn't know either till today.
Yeah. So was
So that
school to practice?
really got me through.
Yeah. Oh, that stinks. So, that just like I was saying before, using these little things that you're doing sometimes doesn't feel like a lot, like a week's worth of doing those things, but imagine doing it for a month, for 2 months, how much of a change it can make. It's like, I mean, you guys I think I've used this analogy before where they say, you know, when airplanes are flying and if they are like 1 degree off, they will end up in a completely different state. It's kind of the same thing. It's just like a 1 degree shift. It doesn't feel like a lot in the beginning, but over time, it will make it. It's like with Melissa, just trusting the process. It's not always going to be like weight loss every week, you know, but you know it's eventually going to get you where you want to go, you know. How about you, Kaylee? How was your week?
It was pretty good. I hurt my ribs when we were at the lake,
Oh no!
so I wasn't able. I think it was my life jacket. It's like right here.
No.
And so if I took like a deep breath or if I stood up straight, then it really pulled. So I didn't get to really do I was going to do muscle burns fat last week, but I didn't. But I did go on walks every day. So I still moved. But I know I was bummed about that. I'm like, of course, when I'm ready, because I finished the Ultimate Reset. So I haven't been working out. And so I was so excited to do the workouts. And then I pulled my rib. But I meal prepped yesterday with one of my coworkers, so I have it all planned out. So that's a big win for me because I haven't meal prepped in a very long time. Well, prior to the reset, but
yeah. Well, it might be good that you're doing the walk anyway, because the reset, I mean, you're like kaput. You don't really do much.
yeah.
Reset go for you? It's so hard.
I hate it. Well, because nutrition's the hardest part for me.
It's hard.
So that's why I hate it so much. And it's definitely that strengthened my mindset because I've learned that instead of telling myself I can't have something, I just tell myself that I'm choosing not to. And then that helps me not want it as badly, where I feel like when we tell ourselves we can't do something or can't have something, we want it even more.
Right.
So that helped me to say no. But I also I'm a perfectionist. So if I'm very much the person that I'll go 100% into something. and then I'll binge eat. Like Leland every single time is like, yeah, you'll do your 21-day program or whatever, working out, eat 100% clean, and then you binge for the next week afterwards. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm trying to allow myself, like, okay, like 80-20, I'm going to take it one day at a time. If I have something today, if I eat a piece of chocolate, I eat a piece of chocolate. Like, it's not the end of the world. So I have to remind myself, like, okay, I didn't lose 10 pounds in a day, so I won't gain them back in a day either.
Right.
Is essentially what I have to. So I'm trying to focus more on water and not beating myself up if I have a bad day.
Water is so helpful. I mean, I told you guys about that last week, my water bottle. I'm telling you, the water will make, you'll notice a big difference in just like the cravings and stuff too. So by just doing that. But I think for you, I mean, you shared some things just like with your upbringing and like some of the bullying and things like that. Like, this is more than just getting in shape for you. This is like mentally getting you in shape with just like managing ups and downs. And then when you do have children, being able to kind of, you know, emulate that for your kids, you know? So I think that's, it sounds like if I heard you right, was the big picture for you is like, yeah, for your health and fitness. I mean, you're in pretty good shape as it is. So I get, you know, it's just like personal goals and things like that. But the bigger picture is, you know, being mentally healthy with it, like Melissa.
Well, and I have a hard time too because I gained 20 pounds this year and I weighed the most I've ever weighed in my entire life. And even after I did the reset, so I lost 10 pounds on the ultimate reset, but I was still so hard on myself because where I was at the end of the reset this year is where I started last year. And so I compared myself to myself, which I'd never done before.
Yeah.
And that was so hard for me. And then instead of being proud of myself for finishing it, I instantly went to the negative part of it of like, oh, well, you can't fit in those shorts that you could fit in last summer at this time. But I had to remind myself, like, but you were also at a very different place. So you've still made an accomplishment. You just you can't compare yourself to even yourself. No. So for me, it's the mindset that I really want to change, like how I feel with food and my like binging problem, because I'll eat, like I'm the person too that started 80-day obsession 4 different times because I'd make it 30 days in a row and then I'd forget a day and I'd start over instead of just continuing.
Oh, wow.
So that's where my perfectionism sometimes, and I almost actually quit coaching Beachbody because it almost became negative for me because I became so obsessed with following it so much that I didn't feel like if I missed a day or if I ate wrong one of the days, then I had to start over. So now I'm trying to like realize like it's okay, life happens, so just pick up where you left off and it's okay. And people relate to that more too because nobody's going to be perfect every single day, which I have to remind myself.
100%. Yeah, it's yeah, that's I think a lot of people have that issue too, though. I mean, we're our own worst enemies sometimes, but there's no way any of us will be perfect with any of this. No one. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? But it's hard to remember that because we're very hard on ourselves. I've done that before where I've compared myself with myself too. And it's a path you just don't even want to go down. Because what we have right now, we really only always have the moment we have right now. You know, there's no other moment. And what do we do with it? We have to just focus on what we're doing right now, what's good for us right now. And maybe what's good for us right now is going and getting an ice cream or whatever once in a while, you know what I mean? And that's cool. And just enjoy the crap out of it, you know? And then maybe the next day, what's good for you is like, you know, something a lot healthier. Like this past weekend, I posted about it. I went to the beach with my sister and I like did not prepare anything. I ate random stupid stuff. It was just like, I didn't eat enough, quite frankly, and none of it was healthy, except for I think I had a carrot or something. And I'm like, well, this day's a wash. Okay. And in the past, I would have been like super hard on myself and like beat myself up mentally. So you just got to keep it in perspective. Like it's just, you know, it's hard to do though. So personal development for you, Kaylee, what's that look like? Are you reading? Are you doing something?
I need to be better. So I used to be really good with personal development because I had Audible and I had like a 45-minute commute. So I used to listen to it on the way to work. but now my commute's only like 10 minutes. So by the time I get there, so now I for sure open my, it's a mental thing for me too. I'm addicted to my phone, which is a problem. So before I like allow myself in the morning to look at Facebook or Instagram or anything, I downloaded a devotional app. So I make myself read my devotion before I can look at anything else. So I've been trying to do that. That's been my personal development, but I definitely need to be better on listening more. So I think I'm going to start to try to listen as I get ready in the morning to like still on Audible, but use that time that I'm getting ready to listen, since I don't have the drive time necessarily anymore.
Well, and then I'm going to have you guys make a little mini goal this week anyway, and that might be yours, you know, to just like really, I think that personal development piece is going to be huge for, you know, battling some of the perfectionism, which we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about perfectionism right now, and then I'll have some questions for you guys to kind of ponder for yourself. And I think, you know, when we're talking about all these different things, our goals and aspirations, even if it's not a concrete goal, because I know like Jen mentioned a couple weeks ago, you said that it's like, you don't have anything necessarily concrete, you know, but we do know what's good for us, you know, and the things that are working. And maybe our goal is to continue doing those things that are working. But at the same time, we always, just like we were just talking about with Kaylee, is that no matter what, there's going to be setbacks, and we have to expect them. It's not if, it's when, you know. It's just like with any other thing in life. Like an example is my kids going back to St. Thomas next week. They start school on Tuesday. You know, it's in my mind, I feel like it's not if school comes back to online, it's when. It's going to happen. Someone's family member's going to have COVID, and something's going to happen, and they're going to be home. So it's not if, I'm expecting it. And that changes my mindset. No, go talk to Daddy. I'm on a call. No. So it's kind of like that with all of our goals too. And it's not to have, Brady, it's not, you know, to have a negative mindset. It's just recognizing that that's life. So it's not if, it's when, but also maintaining that positive, you know, expecting what's good. And perfectionism, you guys already know this, it's super destructive. It's really bad for us emotionally. It actually counters exactly what you're trying to do. So just kind of keep that in mind when we get in those things. And perfectionism is actually really harmful to your health. It's obviously harmful to like your level of joy. It can be. Not all the time. I mean, there's time where your perfectionism really can be useful, but at the same time, we got to kind of recognize when it's not, when it's being harmful to our health or our mental health. And sometimes your productivity, like Kaylee was saying, she'd miss a day and then she'd be like, oh, got to start over, you know, and that kind of puts her back. But here's the good news is that the one thing I want you to recognize, even if you tend to be a perfectionist or tend to be perfectionist in certain areas, you can change that behavior. It's a totally changeable behavior, easier for some than others, but it's something that can change. So that's a good thing with some practice and just working on that personal development. That's super big. Finding something that's really going to hit that part of what you need. So I'm not going to like give you guys a recommendation of something for personal development, but oh, that's okay. I'm just reading the chat. Kaylee said, I read somewhere that perfectionism is disguised as procrastination. Yeah, absolutely. It stops you from moving forward. I used to work with a girl. When I first got out of college, I worked at a place called Journeys of Michigan. It no longer exists anymore. It was in Jackson. It was like a mental health facility. I used to do home-based visits for children who are at risk of like being taken away by CPS. And anyway, so we would go do our home visits. We'd come back to the office and we'd have to write these progress notes. Now, this is when we hand wrote everything. We didn't even have our own laptops at this time. It was like 2001, maybe. Anyway, one of the girls I worked with was a severe, when I say like OCD-ish though, like this is to the extent, she would write a progress note and then she would like, didn't like something like a letter she wouldn't cross out. She would throw it out. And I mean, it would take her like 5 different times. She would waste so much paper writing progress notes, and progress notes were like I hated doing them. They just took so much time, and she was redoing it over and over again until she made it look perfect. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's keeping her from moving forward by worrying about how she crossed her T or whatever. I remember that, and I was like, what are you doing, Karina? And she's like, I don't remember what she said, but it was like, that's perfectionism. Okay, so and the other thing to recognize is before you're good at something, you're going to be bad at it. Okay, that doesn't mean that you're going to be bad at doing your workouts and things like that, but you're going to have a lot more stumbling blocks in the beginning. You're going to have stumbling blocks, Kaylee, with, you know, being really hard on yourself in the beginning. You're going to have stumbling blocks with, you know, figuring out how to reverse engineer things, Stephanie, in the beginning, you know, but it's going to happen. But the more you keep pushing, you're going to get there. And I have a really cool video I'm going to show you in a minute that was really powerful to me. It's a Tony Robbins, just 2 minutes long, but it's going to help you kind of look at when you're pushing and you're doing all the things, and sometimes you don't feel like you're making movement. You just kind of have to wait and see and trust the process. So I'm going to show you that video right now. You may or may not have seen it, but it's a good one. Hold on. I have it ready. I hate when this thing gets in the way. I can't see what's going on up here. Okay. There it is. There we go.
There is another level. The only reason you keep saying there isn't is you feel so exhausted about where you are. But life, the universe, or God is just testing you because there is another level. If this is good, giant jump to excellence, giant from good, poor to good to excellence. There's a level where all your dreams are realized. There's a level that you've always dreamed about. It is real. It has not gone away. But it takes that extra burst when you think there's nothing left. There's no way. You've tried everything 10 million times and you keep going. It's almost like God is saying, if you keep hitting this wall enough times, I will see that you will not stop, that you are filled with that level of determination, faith, and courage, and then the door opens and you get to that next level. But what most people don't know is the next level is just 2 millimeters above. And it's called outstanding, ladies and gentlemen, outstanding. What's it called? What's it called? What's it called? Outstanding, magnificent, unstoppable, extraordinary, not excellent. It's a different level. It's a level where you are not one of the best, you are the best. And you know what's amazing? You only have to be 2 millimeters more than everybody else and you get everything. You get the joy, the laughter, the fun, the family, the passion, the economics, the freedom, the spirit. It's all there. What Jerry Maguire called the quad, baby. All of it. And it's just 2 millimeters above, and most excellent people give up because they're exhausted. And there's some people who go, the harder I hit it, the more I hit it, sooner or later it's going down. I'm not stopping. And when you do that enough, it pops open.
Okay, so I showed you that because, not because I, oops, hold on.
We're back
I
with
was
the
on
one and
a
only
second.
Tony Robbins. A real honor to have you here on Good Day New York.
Okay, get that off. Not because I'm expecting everyone to be like the best and everything, but recognizing that you keep hitting the wall, you keep pushing, even though you don't always feel like you're making movement. Sometimes you don't realize how close you are to getting to where you want to be, you know, and that meant a lot to me. It's just kind of like I'm just thinking about what Kaylee said a few minutes ago about when she gets to day 30, she missed a day. She doesn't know how close she was possibly to maybe reaching out to someone or making a difference in some, you know, you don't know, you know, and same with our workout and in our fitness journeys, pushing. We don't feel like we're making progress, but then over and over and over again, eventually that wall is going to break down and all the things that you've wanted are going to start happening as far as that part of your life, you know. And so I really liked that idea, and I've heard this idea before of sometimes we stop right before we are really successful with something because of our own mindset. So recognizing it's just on the other side of the wall, you know, we just keep pushing and we trust at some point it is going to fall down, you know. It is going to fall down, whether it's your mindset or your health or your business or whatever it is trusting. And that big word trust, that trust is really important, to trust that what you're doing is good for you. So I want to talk a little bit about perfection again. There's some different, so I want you to kind of think about this if it relates to you, this kind of mindset. So perfection versus progress. Oh, I see Jen. Hi, Jen. Jen used to be a student at my school. Perfection. I have only one shot at this. If I fail, lose, get rejected, it means I suck and I should quit. Versus progress. I take as many shots as I can. I'll learn from every attempt. I'll get stronger and better. So that's the difference. Which one do you guys kind of identify with? Raise your hand if perfection on that one. Sometimes you do that, all or nothing. If I get rejected, that's a hard one. Another one I have for you. It's either all or nothing. If I can't get everything I want now, what's the point? Okay, versus progress. I'll start small and simple now, then iterate and evolve over time. And that's what we're focusing on with what we're doing right now. You're starting, you're doing the little things, and over time, they compound. Like we were talking about with Nicole, when she does all the things every day, a year from now, she's done a year's worth of personal development and gratitude. Imagine how long her gratitude list is going to be and how much that can shift her mindset significantly. A perfectionist mindset. Failure is unacceptable. I'm a failure, always have been, always will be. I always fail at everything. This will crush me. If I fail, I'm done. I can't go on. Versus failure is inevitable. Remember, we expect it's going to happen. It's just part of it. Ooh, thunder. Do you guys have thunder by you?
I just got that, so I figured it was coming close to you.
Oh my gosh, that was really.
It's been lightning behind you, like for the past couple of minutes. And
Oh, really?
I'm surprised. Yeah, like
I was like.
No, it's a pretty big storm. So.
Oh, I see it behind you too, Melissa. Okay, so it's going to happen. My attempt may fail, but I'm not a failure. Okay, so you might fail at doing something. Maybe you have a horrible week. Let's say your whole week just kind of went to trash with what you're working on. Does not mean you're a failure. It just means your behaviors didn't work or your mindset wasn't right on track. So you're like, okay, what do I need to do right now? That doesn't mean I'm a failure. It just means my behavior failed, you know? So we have to kind of separate that from who we are. And failure is not permanent or personal. We all fail at something many times in our lives. It doesn't mean any of us are failures. And failure is an event. It's not a characteristic. So if anyone says you're a failure, that's not even a thing. It's actually a behavior and something that has happened. It does not define anybody. So those are some switches in your mindset I want you to think about. I have a few more. I have a bunch, but I'm only going to read a couple more. Let me see if another one. Here's one. This is a difficult one, especially when it comes to health and fitness. This has to happen immediately. Give me a shortcut. Or we hear this with some of our potential customers too, though, right? They want something immediate. I need this to be easy. I can't handle challenges. Versus the progress mindset or growth mindset. We can use growth mindset. I'm in this for the long term, right? All great things take time. I'm ready to work hard. I'm excited for the challenge. So those are a mindset shift with how you look at, it's not going to be a quick fix. Everything that all of us are doing in this group is just, we're shifting our lives that are just healthier for us, right? That are just better for us. in multiple areas. So this is just a change. This is not a quick fix and everything's going to be handy dandy. Part of it's the journey, enjoying the journey, being able to be present with what you're doing, but also recognizing that you're working towards something, because it's healthy to work towards stuff. So being able to have both of those, recognizing the journey is good, and so is getting to that, you know. And when you do reach that goal, like when Melissa does reach that goal, you know, with her weight loss, she'll have something new she'll want to work on, and that's cool. Whatever it might be at the time. Maybe it's still health related, maybe it's not. I don't know. You know, she'll know at that time, and it will be good for her. Last one I'm going to share. I can't show this to anyone until it's perfect. Has anyone ever felt that way? Like, I can't do this, or I can't reveal something until it's 100% perfect. Another way to look at it is done is better than perfect, getting it done. Real world feedback helps me learn and improve. We always tell Jason, because he's my 10-year-old, he's very, 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 very competitive, which, you know, is a great asset for an athlete. And so if he loses a game, or if he doesn't agree with the umps, or if he strikes out, I'm like, dude, this is part of the process of being an athlete. Even though he's a really good athlete, it's not going to be, this is how it is. And you're either going to lose, you're either going to win, or you're going to learn. So instead of saying I failed at something, I'm going to learn through this. What am I going to learn from this process? Instead of it being like, I need this to be perfect. So just some food for thought to think about when you start noticing your mind being like, I need to do this perfectly to do this. Like with Stephanie's kind of bigger goal, I think she's got a lot of voices in her head saying, oh, this is a lot, or I'm not sure I can do this. How do I start? Where do I go? You know, it's just recognizing this is a journey. There's a process. You're starting to move the needle. The fact that we're having this conversation, you know, and is it going to be perfect the whole time? No, but you are making progress, and you're going to learn through each thing that you go through, and progress and doing something is better than making things like everything perfect, because it's just not going to be. All right, so we're going to talk through this real quick, and then it's already 9:15. And you can just kind of like speak out or share as it relates to your dream or your goal or whatever, you know, your focus is. What is one thing that stops you because you want it perfect? When we're talking about perfectionism, is there something in your process that sometimes you get stunted because you're like, oh, I'm not good at this, or this is really hard, or you know, I need this part to be perfect before I can move forward with this?
Sharing anything in my stories or anything in the morning. I feel like, you know, there's the whole routine, like with Beachbody coaches, it's like you're expected to get up first thing in the morning, bright and early, like be, you know, bubbles in sunshine, and like, you know, like stick to that consistent routine and show up every single day and everything like that. And so I feel like sometimes like I need to be perfect. I hold back, like I don't share everything. Like I just don't. It's like if I'm not in the right headspace, like if it's too late in the day or whatever, I just be like, oh well, you know, I just won't share today or whatever, and that really messes me up, because then I'm not consistent or whatever, you know. So I do recognize that I do think about that. Like I may not think about it at the time or realize that's what it is, but I compare myself to others and how they do it or whatever. And so like, I'm still not like, the part that I'm trying to figure out is like, how do I want to present myself? Because, you know, it's like we compared, like somebody said earlier, and I forget what it was, but the biggest thing is, yes, we compare ourselves to others and compare ourselves to, you know, ourselves, and how everybody's always perfect or whatever. the big thing is that I know a lot of these people, like, I know they're not perfect. The picture that they put out online, they are so much of a train wreck in real life, just like I am, but yet they're putting this out there. And so even though I know it's BS, it still messes with my head. I still feel like I've got to put the perfect picture out there. What I really want is to just be me and just be okay with that,
Right.
and put that out there. One thing you brought up this, I'm glad you brought up the perfectionist thing, because you helped me decide which PD book I'm going to do next. And it's The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. I've read it once already, but I'm going to reread it because perfectionism is very much linked to shame as well.
Right.
And you were talking about the failure and everything. And so, like, you know, fear of failure, people shaming you and things like that. Like, so, you know,
Excuse me, sorry.
bless you.
Oh, and one thing that I try to remind myself. Oh, one more thing. No, honey, not right now. No. Sorry, guys. He should be in bed, but anyway. One thing I always remind myself, like when it comes to like social media stuff, the coaches that get the most interaction are the ones that show all the dirty nitty gritty. Like Ashley Molstead, when she became so popular after she posted that picture of her standing up in a perfect picture and then bent over and you could see all her rolls, and people were like, finally someone's showing, because the pictures were taken within seconds of each other, you know, and now we've seen multiple people do that, but that picture went viral because I think people related to that, as opposed to, like you said, all the ones that we see, these perfect pictures. I have to do the same thing. I have to physically tell myself, that is not a picture that they set up, they put their lighting on, they made sure, they probably took 17 pictures, you know, and that's just not a life I want to live. You know, I don't feel like taking 30 minutes to do the perfect thing. And so it's something you kind of have to almost do some self-talk, like 100%. That was very staged and took 30 minutes and took multiple takes to make it look right and the right lighting and everything. That is 100% what's happening with some of those photos on Instagram and those social medias. There's no way around it. Because I can do the same thing. Like there will be a certain way that I stand. I might look a lot slimmer than if I stood a different way. You know, there's a lot of ways to do things. And so it's easy to get caught in that trap of comparing, and like, not necessarily the comparing, but thinking you have to spend the time to be perfect. It really, I don't think people are drawn to that as much, to be honest with you. Some people are, but you know, they're not your people, the people that are drawn to that, right?
Yes, I need to find my people.
Yeah.
That's my big thing. Is when we started this whole course, I was trying to figure out what it was I wanted. And I've actually, even though I haven't really shared too much, I've ever been as active, but I have kind of noodled out some things where what I thought my initial problem was when we first started this, actually, it really isn't the problem, which is good. I've narrowed that down a little bit more, and it's what is it that I want. So I want to do this. I want to do the coach thing, or I don't know exactly what exactly I'm looking for.
Well, I think you need,
but I want
this whole, like, you're so close to blasting through, kind of like that rooftop of some insecurities, you know, that are holding you back, I don't want to say overthinking in a bad way, but you know, it's part of that perfectionism thing where you're kind of like, I got to do it this way, or I've got to be this person or whatever. Getting through and being like, I'm authentically me and I'm perfectly great the way I am, if nothing changed with me right now, you know, and being able to fully accept that. I think once you got to that point, I mean, you're going to be super clear about all the things, you know, because you have everything that it takes to be a successful coach and to do all these other things, you know, and you've already moved the needle, and really you made a ton of progress in the last 2 years, probably, right? Year and a half, I would say.
Yeah, well, just a little over a year. I started last May.
Yeah.
So, and yes, I am my own roadblock right now.
Yeah.
And I got to figure out why I keep doing it. And I think it really is all related to stuff that I still haven't worked through from years and years of things. So the PD is important, and I actually think my action item for the week is going to be sitting out and listening to my Audible like PD, because I don't have my commute anymore. Like, somebody else was saying, I used to have my really long commute. I don't have that anymore. So maybe that'll be one of my tasks this week, is that I at least sit out for at least half an hour.
And you know what you could do with that too is, okay, when you listen to it, what's one takeaway that you can apply to your life, so that you can make that connection point. So that could be like your action point for the week. Okay, I got another question. So someone else can answer this one. Who might you become if you focus on progress, not perfection? How could that change your movement towards your goal? Progress instead of perfection.
I think that's
Okay.
that's
Go ahead.
I think that's the whole thing that I'm trying to figure out, is because I've always, like, I have to do it all right. And the second, I try so hard to, like, the nutrition is not a diet. This is supposed to be a lifestyle. So I'm supposed to be able to have a treat here and there, but it's that one treat that turns into a whole weekend of binging.
Right.
So it's figuring out the progress and not being so specific and like, oh, just blew it, so I'm just going to give up now. And looking at the progress, then it's like, okay, well, so that happened and we move on, and and realizing what I have done up until that point.
Yeah, I think doing an inventory over the last month, sometimes 2 months, look how far I've come. So I had a bad day. I'm still, who said it? You're not going to lose 10 pounds in a day, so you're not going to gain 10 pounds in a day. If you derail, and the funny thing with our bodies too, sometimes if you eat something with a lot of sodium, you might all of a sudden 3 pounds on the scale the next day, but it's not real weight. So we can't always believe what the scale says, or if you drink a lot of water before you go to bed, there's a lot of things that affect your weight. So we can't always put 100% stake at it. So that progress is important. Okay, so Melissa, your action item for the week is, what did we say, personal development?
Yes.
Yes, so up in that, we're continuing boosting that one up. Okay. Did you have something you wanted to share, Christy?
Yeah. On my walk today, I was thinking about how I had set out in July to have 50 invites for the new program, and I was 4 short, but I
That's
did
awesome.
way more inviting than I had in months prior. So, and I hit goals. So it made me I was thinking about it, okay, look at what happened. I don't know if it was Sarah Bry or somebody said something about, you set these goals and you might not reach them, but look how much further you are ahead because you went for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just kind of my little aha today.
Yeah. And that's also an example of the little actions that you did all month. You had a good month.
Mm-hmm.
All those actions paid off. So sometimes it's like, well, I'm just not going to do invites today. I'd rather go do this or whatever. But doing the 10 minutes of it, it makes a big difference.
Right. And it wasn't there were some days that I didn't, but then the next day I was like, okay, I'm cranking out 10, or, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to get 14 done. So that was helpful and kind of training my brain more.
That's a perfect example. Awesome. All right, Christy, what's one action item? Maybe it's building on what you've done, because you started your list. Maybe it's committing to printing out your list and committing to it daily. you know?
And I think the personal development too, because I tend to just do my devotions and then I skip. I am doing the Build to Last book, but that doesn't take me that long. It's only like one day. So I do have that Brene Brown book, but I have a lot that Sarah. I just got to find one and get into it.
Okay, so that'll be your other task, is to find a good one and commit. Sometimes even 5 minutes is plenty of personal development, and it doesn't have to take up a ton of time, you know. All right. Anyone have any challenges they're foreseeing that could impede progress? That I want you to, because I do want you guys to think about this week too. Like, what are some things that might come up? Because like we said, it's not if, it's when. And I want you to sort of start brainstorming some things that you can do to overcome it. Many times the challenges are going to be our own thoughts and old patterns of behaviors we've engaged in. So thinking about some things that you can do when that happens. Like Melissa, when you say sometimes when you have like a treat and then it turns into, you know, maybe it's reaching out to someone that you trust, that you can be like, dude, I'm really struggling right now. Can we like get on the phone or Zoom or whatever? Something like that. So start thinking in advance about the roadblocks you may have. All right, who wants to, I'm making you all come up with one thing. So a lot of personal development, which I think is fantastic. Stephanie, we talked about brain dumping and personal development, right?
Yep.
Yep, so I think that's plenty for you. Yep. And feel free to send me a photo of your brain dumping and I can help you brain dump some more too.
Okay.
Kaylee, how about you? Personal development?
I think mine will be personal development, and I need to make sure I get up in the mornings. Not hitting snooze.
What time do you have to leave for work?
Well, it's hard because it's different every day because it depends on what time the first patient is. So it's different every day, which is really hard for me because some days, like I try to be to work at 7:30, so I'll leave at like 7:10. But then the next day, the first patient isn't until 9. So then I sleep in longer. So then it's hard for me. I just need to make myself be like, oh, like I'm going to wake up at 5:30 every day and then get in my personal development and get in my workout. And then that way I don't have to worry about fitting it in after I get home.
Right. Because once your ribs are feeling better, you're going to want to start. When do you think you'll be able to start? You must have bruised.
I think I'm going to try today. I honestly don't know, but I'm like, well, there's nothing you can do for ribs, so I'll just let it be. I'm too cheap. I'm a horrible patient myself. So I'm like, I'll just wait until it's better. And although I had a dream I had sepsis this morning, so that was terrifying.
Oh my gosh.
I woke up, I'm like, oh my God.
You can modify some of them and just see how your body feels, you know?
Yeah, and today's leg day, so leg day won't be too bad. The day that it really started hurting was the day that it was core, and I'm like, I can't do core. I couldn't even take a deep breath in. I'm like, there's no way I can do core. So that's why I was doing walks. So I've been doing good about if I do a day of the program, and then if the next day I have to go for a walk, then so be it, I guess.
Well, I think that's
so.
Because, we're progress, not perfection. You're not going to start the whole program over.
Right. Although I am today. Instead of doing core today, I'm still doing legs today.
Okay. Well, still, I mean, what you could always do is like, you can do the core ones, do it out of order or something. You can adjust it. Doesn't have to be perfect, you know what I mean? Like, because hopefully you'll be feeling.
And honestly, the stretching one might actually help pop something back in place.
Yeah, maybe you move the stretching one up and you just move your workouts around a little bit. Maybe later this week you can try core. I don't know. But
yeah.
So getting on a regimen, it sounds like you really need to get on a regimen of waking up.
Yes, not hitting snooze, because that's my problem.
Yeah, so make that that could be a good focus in your personal development. All right, we have Nicole. Is she there? Nicole, are you there? She might. I think she's in and out of doing it. I think I see her. Is it frozen? Let me see the chat. I can always touch base with Nicole later, though. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So really work on thinking about when those perfectionistic thoughts come up, reframing them, reframe, you know, it's progress, not perfection. I mean, we've all heard that before, but really sink it in. When you do your personal development, because personal development is big for all of us in here, even you can either journal it or just kind of think of one takeaway. How can it apply to your life? How can you adjust, you know, your thought patterns or whatever it is when it in relation to your life can be really helpful. And then again, if you're like aiming to get 15 minutes personal development, but you get 5, that's okay. Like that's progress, right? Progress. Or if you miss a day, it's not like, oh crap, just like pick it up later or, you know, or the next day. It's okay because we're just, you know, we're just living life, right? That's the way I look at it. It's like we're just living life, trying to do the best we can. It's really not that, it doesn't have to be that big of a deal, is my point. But you do want it to make it a priority. So if that makes sense. So we have 2 more weeks left of our little group. So we will be focusing on, what are we focusing on next week? I'll give you a little, really strengthening that muscle of confidence. And like that can do, like I'm going to do that attitude is what we're gonna be focusing on next week. So we're gonna be building on that. So there we go. All right, girls, you guys have a good night. Thanks for hopping on the call. And I'll see you guys later.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, have a good night.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.